Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting of the Internal Services Committee to order. And the first item is Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How are you?
Thank you. I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda.
Support Center.
Thank you. Commissioners Romano and Zinner made the motion and seconded to adopt the agenda. Any comments? Hearing none, please vote.
Chair, can you do a voice vote? I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chair. You're welcome.
Aye.
Yeah, it's weird.
I believe that passed.
Yes.
We now move to adopting the minutes from the Joint Government Oversight and Internal Services Committee from November 9th.
So move.
Thank you. Commissioners Haw and Grott made the motion and supported it to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Moving on to public participation. This is the first opportunity for public participation. For anyone who would like to comment on any issue on today's agenda only, public participation. Last call, public participation for today's agenda items. Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to item 6, department recommendations. 6A, budget amendment for facilities and operations, jail, laundry, hot water storage tank replacement for $669,000. And we have Mr. Delden.
Yes, I had notified the office earlier today that Ben Treppa, our facility director, is out with COVID this week, so I'm in his stead, taking care of these items today.
Point of order, Chair. Could we take A and B together?
Thank
A and
you.
B together?
Okay, all set, thank you.
Sorry.
This is something that happened unexpectedly at the jail a couple of weeks ago. We have two 1,200-gallon hot water tanks that we use to operate the laundry area for the entire jail. One of them gave out, and they're about 20 years old. We immediately engaged with the architects and engineers to design a replacement project. And while they were in process, the second hot water tank failed. So that's 2,400 gallons of hot water that were no longer available to us. The contractor temporarily tapped into the kitchen hot water storage area, which really is undersized for what we need it for. But we're limping along right now, so we immediately went out to bid as quickly as we could. As I said, they're over 20 years old. I'm reading from some of Ben's notes. You'll have to forgive me. And in order to get these tanks out, we have to remove a set of double doors. Because 20 years ago, when these tanks were replaced, we had to remove the double doors, cut them out. We had to remove them and get the hot water tanks hoisted in there. So we're going to replace the set of doors as well because they're in bad shape. Also in that area, there are two domestic hot water boilers that are original to the jail towers. That's going back to the mid to late 1980s. So the economy of scale is we're going to replace those two because we do believe they're at the end of their useful life, nearing, probably almost 40 years old, 35 or 40 years old. So we have included all of the information in there. We're recommending that the award go to Bernco Company. We did have someone else bid on it, but it was an incomplete bid. You can tell by the price difference between the two bidders. It was over a couple of $100,000, and that's always a red flag for us because we spec it out. And when you see a deviation like that, you really start to dig into it. And the architect had determined that they had left stuff out of the bid. And even if even if it was a full bid, we had a unfortunate experience with the other company in previous years here in the county. So I'm here to answer any other questions that you may have, but to summarize, at this moment, no one at the jail is in hot water.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano.
Good, how are you? I'm better now
You better not, me too.
than I was yesterday afternoon at this time.
Right.
Yesterday.
You say you're limping along now, and naturally, any costs associated now with the jail, we're gonna have to scrutinize because of what's going on at the building of the new one, naturally.
Correct.
So when you say you're limping along, how limping along are you? I mean,
Well, we have 2,400 gallons worth of hot water tanks that are no longer in service. So we're tapped into the kitchen hot water system, which doesn't provide enough hot water every single day to do the laundry. And then we run out of hot water in the kitchen area, which, you know, could be an issue with the health department.
So the prisoners have cold water for their uniforms, huh, or whatever they wear.
This section of the jail, this is in the towers, this is the area that is remaining after our major central intake project is complete. This area is going to remain in service.
Are you saying we will not need future hot water tanks for the new jail because this portion of it's gonna be remaining, and we'll be using these hot water tanks for the new jail?
To serve the tower. Now, the new area of the jail, I'd have to talk to the architects that are in design right now. There may be other hot water tanks located in the new section, but they aren't going to be serving the laundry department that is located in the tower, the jail.
I'm not familiar with, naturally, I don't think anybody's familiar with that size of a water tank. They're not repairable? I don't understand. You say they went out, they go out. What does that mean? I don't
It
understand.
was deemed.
It's just a lot of money, that's all I'm,
It is a lot of money. And again, it was unexpected. We did not expect these to go out, but we're understanding that they cannot be repaired and they're beyond their useful life. I mean,
whose understanding is that, Mr. D? That it can be repaired? I mean, somebody, I'm not questioning you. Do you understand? I'm just questioning the process here.
You're talking about you're talking about hot water tanks that operate 24/7 for the last 20 years.
And all of a sudden, both of them go out?
They went out like 2 weeks apart from each other.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you, Mr. D.
The question that I have is, you said there's 2 domestic hot water heaters you're going to replace also.
Yeah, while we're in there.
And when you say domestic, I'm thinking you mean like the size that are in a home.
I don't know the gallon, you know, and again, I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage here today. But they're original to the jail, so they were put in the late 80s.
Well, I could understand if they're original to the jail and then we added these large ones, but with these 2 large capacity hot water heaters, why are we still having these 2 little tiny domestic hot water heaters next to them?
I don't know that that's the case, that they're 2 tiny little domestic hot water tanks. I mean,
Okay.
domestic in a public facility may be way larger than we use in our homes.
Okay,
I
fair
don't know.
point.
I don't know.
So we have 2, but we have 4 tanks altogether you're talking about.
Yes.
Can we combine, can we get rid of 2 of them?
I would assume that the architect and the engineers would have suggested that during the design.
Okay. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
We did A and B, didn't we, together?
Yes.
Yes. Item C, budget amendment for facilities and operation, jail various projects for $62,884. Motion to move to full board.
Here, can we do C and D together?
Certainly.
Support.
Make the motion.
Support Nard.
Commissioner Ha and Romano made the motion and supported it to move C and D to full board. Thank you. Mr. Delden?
Yes, thank you. Back in October of this year, back in October of 2022, the board had approved several projects, and it was titled various jail projects, but it included putting up some wire mesh in some of the inmate areas. It included replacing some doors, and it included the renovation of the men's and ladies' locker rooms over at the jail. The change order that we're bringing to you today, and those projects are still ongoing, as is this one. But it was determined that the lockers that are in there are not adequate size. And they initially thought that they wanted more smaller lockers. And then it was determined that they weren't so concerned with the number of lockers, but the size of each locker. So the change order is to purchase, the dimensions are in here, like 72-inch by 24 by 24, and a certain number of them. We are going to repurpose the smaller lockers that we're looking right now to go to one of our sheriff's substations. So this is a change order for the $62,000. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Seeing no questions, please vote.
Thought that was you making that noise.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Moving on to 6E.
Thanks, Kyle.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's not the,
Yes, it is.
yes, it is.
Well, I didn't get to the motion yet.
Okay, when you get to it.
6E is facilities operation, Macomb County 6th Circuit Court, new door, hardware, and rekeying projects. And I'd like to do C and E and F together.
So moved by Nard.
Thank you. Commissioner Nard and Grott made the motion and seconded to move this to full board. Mr. Delden?
Yes, during the downtown renovation project, I'm going back now to about 2016, 2017, we started to replace all of our door locks with a high-security keying system. As money has become available now, we've built this into the capital project. We want to continue rekeying all the buildings here downtown. The importance of this is not only that it's a high security, it can't be duplicated, but our first responders, meaning police and fire and our security personnel, right now have to carry a ring of keys to get into different floors, different buildings. Our main purpose here is to go down to a single grand master key that our first responders will have that will get them in any single room in any one of these buildings. Time is of the essence, whether there's a broken pipe in the middle of winter up above the ceiling, whether there's a fire in a heat duct, or whether someone is in need of medical assistance immediately. Every second counts. And we are proposing that we want to complete the court because the court, the old county building and this building has different floors with this new key system, and we're trying to complete it out. And that's why we brought this proposal forward to you. Again, it's to minimize the number of keys that we hand out. It improves our security, but most importantly, our first responders will have one key and not several.
Thank you. Again, good job. No questions, so please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on, to say G and H at the beginning. Budget amendment for central. Information technology, capital improvement plan, sheriff's office, in-car cameras for $25,161.60. And our IT director, Jaco. I would like a motion to
Refer G
move.
and H to full board.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you. Commissioner Hall and Romano made the motion and seconded it to move this item, to move these items to full board. Jaco?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The majority of the cameras, in-car cameras at the sheriff's office is out of warranty. and can no longer be repaired. The sheriff office is going out to bid next year to replace their entire fleet of cameras. And at that time, new units will be purchased. For us to maintain that environment, we do need some inventory so that when a car goes down, we can immediately replace that camera. And that is what this request is for, is to replace a few of those cameras. Or not replace, but provide inventory so that if a car goes down, we can just swap them out.
Thank you. Commissioner Perna.
Question, on the cameras that you're going to replace, the cameras that you say they're antiquated now, is there any value to those?
Probably not much.
We can't use them anywhere else, or they're no value to
Newer
them?
technology. You know, the cameras that you purchase today is very different technology. So, you know, you won't be able to redeploy them in the same situation. And I don't know that there's really any other departments that would benefit from them.
So there's no facilities that need cameras that we could use those cameras?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I think the only two that really use those cameras are, it's really the sheriff's office. And I'm not sure if they have some in animal control. I don't think so.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Brown.
Following up with Commissioner Perna's question about reuse. So we send those to the auction then, and we could auction them off?
I would assume that's what happened to them after the fact. We're not part
Not
of
your
that.
area, yeah.
We're not part of that process.
Okay.
But Commissioner, I don't know that there would be, you know, much value to them. There's probably some people that would be interested in them, but at obviously a very, very reduced cost.
Okay. That's subject for a different person. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Can put him on his house.
That's what I think Bernard was looking for.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item 6I, Budget Amendment for Information Technology, Jail Uninterruptable Power Supply, UPS, replacement for $49,718. And that covers 3 different items by Motor City and 2 by M&J Technologies. I'd like a motion to move this to full board.
So moved by Nard.
Support Wallace.
Thank you. Commissioner Nard and Wallace made the motion and supported it to move this item to full board. Jacob?
Commissioners, this is uninterruptible power supplies that we use on the different floors. We have a lot of challenges at the sheriff's office, specifically with power supply to the different items. As you know, there's an electrical study that's part of the bigger jail project that they're doing. But in anticipation or waiting on that, we have to make some changes over there. And the changes that we're asking for here is to make sure that the critical equipment at least is on an uninterrupted power supply. Reason being that when the jail power kicks in, when the power goes out and their generator kicks in, it takes a few minutes before it actually starts working. And we have to maintain power for that time, make sure that we have enough available. Otherwise, what happens is some of the systems go out, and then they have to reboot computers, they have to reboot certain cameras, things like that, to get everything back in sync again. And that, you know, it takes considerable amount of time, and it's very disruptive to their operations. So what we're doing is making sure that the items that we can put on a UPS, that those items are put on a UPS. They will continue to use them even after the electrical study. So it's not just an interim solution, but it is helping out so that at least some of the major items are covered. And that is a total of $49,000, which is which covers also drops, so that we can make sure that all the items are on the power supplies.
Thank you. Do these UPS units have the batteries integral to the unit?
Yes, and we can monitor all of them. So that's another part of the problem, is we didn't have the capability on the older devices that's in there today to monitor them. So we get alerts when a UPS goes or has problems.
So some of this cost involves putting those new UPSs on the network?
That's correct.
Okay. And will that be your department's responsibility to monitor those?
Yes, we monitor those.
Thank you. Chair Brown?
Were these vendors bid out, or are these part of an extended, a prior contract?
This specific one was not bid out, Commissioner. It is the current vendors that we're using for our UPS environment. So we did not bid them out, no.
Okay, on the bid sheets, there's a new form in here that, or at least maybe not a new form, but the vendor transaction from Workday, talking about the vendor transactions, and it's showing, you know, payments and so forth like that. Is that something new that, is it new that something new that Workday's presenting us, that it's in a different form? I mean, it shows payment, shows category, shows reporting company, but it doesn't show us what the payment is, what the supplier payment was, and there's not much detail on the form is what I'm asking. And is
I
that
think
something new to you, or?
If I can, just my 2 cents, I think we're probably still working through some of those issues. Obviously, finances has a lot of priorities of things that they need to make work for year's end. And those are the things we're focusing on, so that might be one of them.
Sure.
That has not been completed yet.
I'll ask finance
Yeah.
about that, because I'm not sure what it's supposed to be telling us.
No, I think it should tell you the same information that you used to get from previous reports, because I know we provided those reports in the past.
Okay.
So we know we have to do it. So I'll make a note of that as well and let Steve know.
Well, we'll take care of that, Jago.
Okay.
We'll let him know. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
You know what I'm talking about.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item 6J, Budget Amendment for Information Technology Capital Improvement Plan, PowerScale Expansion, and this is Dell financing payment, second of three for $51,970.97. I need a motion to move to full board.
So moved, Perna.
Support Wallace.
Thank you. Commissioners Perna and Wallace made the motion and seconded it to move this item to full board. Jaco?
Commissioners, the PowerScale is also known as Isilon in the past. And what that pretty much is, it's the two devices at the two different data centers where all our file storage is being kept. We engaged in this deal last year, and we are doing now the second of three payments at 0% interest, to complete this purchase. And what it pretty much is a purchase of 200 terabytes of data. We have to do it at both data centers because it is, in sync. So if one goes out, the other one takes over. So that's what this purchase is for. And like I said, we've done this last year, the first payment, and we now asking for the second payment. Well, when I say last year, it's really 23, and we're asking for the payment in January.
Thank you. So you said this is to purchase?
200 terabyte of disk space for our file storage. And that is at Comtech as well as at the Sheriff's Department. That's where our 2 data centers are.
I'm having a problem with the usage of the word. Are we purchasing the use of the file space, or are we actually purchasing
The
hard
equipment that's
drives?
needed, yeah. We already have a system called Power Protect, and we're just purchasing additional storage space,
Okay,
hard drives, so.
and is that physically at Comtech,
At Comtech as well as at the jail.
at the jail? You said for the
Yeah, so there's
redundant.
200 at each, so it's
Right.
really double the cost
Thank you.
for redundancy.
Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Item 6K and L, we should take together. Budget amendment, information technology, capital improvement plan, jail tracker. Macomb jail reimbursement system replacement for $134,200. Do I have a motion to move these
So
two?
moved, Hall.
Support.
Thank you. Commissioner Hall and Romano made the motion and seconded it to move 6K and L to full board. Thank you. Jacob?
The request here is for JailTracker, which is the service that we put in place last year for the sheriff's office. It is to ask them to replace MJRS, which is the software that we use today, you know, for the inmates. The Macomb County Sheriff's Office charge individuals a room and board for any time that they are required to stay at the jail. To keep track of these charges, the sheriff's office utilizes a standalone app. Like I said today, that's called MJRS. To minimize the amount of dual entry and support required for the two systems, the sheriff's office is requesting a module to be developed through JailTracker themselves, our new vendor, that replaces MJRS functionality. It's obviously less entry, less opportunity for making mistakes. And then, you know, currently that integration is not in place. So if it is in place, it's only one place where they have to enter the data, and it's available and can be processed as such.
Thank you. Commissioner Hall?
Thank you, Chair. Jaco, I'm going to follow on Commissioner Romano's question, Mark Geldman. We've got about $1 million worth of jail stuff here. All of this is going to be able to be used when the new intake center is constructed?
Yes, this is
Okay.
this is the brand new system that we put in place for the jail last year. And this is just expansion of the capability of that system. And that will be continued to be used, doesn't matter where they operate from.
Well, you know, when it comes to most of this stuff, I trust your judgment in working with the architects and the construction people that next year doesn't come back and ask for that same $1 million to be respent.
No,
Okay,
definitely not.
I'm going to trust you on that. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Absolutely. Commissioner Sabatini?
Thank you, Chair. Hey, Jaco.
Hi, Commissioner.
When we went to this product last year, was this anticipated to do this add-on at that time?
It was prior to this, it was anticipated, but what we didn't know, when we put out the bids, it's very difficult to incorporate everything that you envision eventually is going to integrate with that system. And we did put on this year's budget last year $100,000 number, and I think that might have been on the previous year as well. Last year was just, you know, too busy to get to that, and they eventually did it this year or are trying to do it now.
So, I mean, some of the items that we've been dealing with today, obviously, we have a a boiler that,
Yep.
you know, went past its useful life. I understand it. I mean, some of the other commissioners are scrutinizing or discussing, you know, items in the jail, which
Absolutely
I agree with.
understand that.
My question is just in regards to the process, when we go through these technology enhancements or changing from one vendor to another, is there a process in place that we're going through with the vendor to see, we do all of this over here, can any of this be integrated into that product so that when you bring us a new product or we're going to transition, we know what the true cost is rather than you having to come to us at a later date with another add-on to that technology and another add-on to that technology, and it can be more feasible to the board. If we're going to spend $1 million, we know we're spending $1 million. If we're going to spend $1.5 million, we'd like to know that in the beginning rather than, at the latter half.
Commissioner, I think there's no process in place to come to you and say, this has cost us $1 million and it's going to end up costing us $2 million because we have to do this and this and this eventually. I think there's a lot of validity to that in maybe us doing some sort of an estimate of what we believe will be the end game.
Mm-hmm.
The difficulty is, from our standpoint, is time.
Right.
So if I come to you and I say that, we're going to implement this new system, JailTracker, but we're going to have to integrate MJRS, we have to integrate Workday, we have to integrate the county's payment system, all those things are eventually things I believe that will become part, whether the cost will be accounted for in the treasurer's department or, from a payment system perspective or whatever. There's a lot of these things with integrations that in the past that didn't really happen. We didn't really integrate stuff. Everything was these silos.
Correct.
And that's today, obviously with technology, you can change that. But the number that I'm going to give you is just going to be a guess of where we think it's going to end up. And we have that thought process prior to doing this, and we think, what can we do in this first round of this project to make this, because the other side of that is if you incorporate too many things, then it becomes a 5-year project.
Right.
And everybody waits for 5 years before they have a working
And that's what I'm getting to, because when we do a technology project, and I'm looking at your budget this year, I mean, your budget is skyrocketing. So we're spending, it's not like we're not spending money on IT. That's not the case here. We are spending money on IT. My concern is that, are we spending in a manner that by the time you get to the point where you've actually solved your problem, it could be 5 years later. Now that technology has already changed, right? So kind of like to some of the items we've already talked about today, the cameras. We're moving to a different platform because they no longer are existent in today's technology. That's really what I'm trying to get at is, what are we doing to plan better? And it's not a knock to you or to your department. It's just the technology is just consistently coming through this board and the price points are just going higher and higher and higher. I don't know how much we can sustain to a certain point where, when those price tags get to that level, and I know they're for different departments, don't get me wrong. My support of Workday was that there's a lot of integrations with Workday that we can, rather than having in those separate silos, because I remember those days, and I would ask those crazy questions like, well, why is this department doing it this way, and this department is doing it this way when they should be doing it the same way? So, I mean, you're doing a great job. I'm just talking for the future and as we go through, and I know the price points are not getting any easier on your budget, but that's just one of my concerns when I look at the IT budget.
That's a very fair point, Commissioner. Those are my concerns as well. I can just, for example, explain to you the camera thing at the jail. That project started probably 6-7 years ago. It was implemented. And, we took on the task of putting all the camera feed on our network, the Isilon that I just talked about. That's where the camera feeds go. For 90 days, we have to keep the information. The newer systems now are almost all of them is cloud-based. So, that should help reducing our on-prem footprint. But whether it's going to reduce cost is a, you know, it's a hard point. Because the on-prem or the cloud versions now have capabilities that we didn't have before. Like you could run through, like you can run with your old video thing, you know, fast forward and rewind to a specific point. Now you can instantly go to a video of something that happened last night. It, through AI, it tells you exactly, it actually by itself decide what to search and give you this. I mean, the technology is mind-boggling. So you know, then you have to make decisions. What do I buy?
Right.
You know, the system is expensive as it is. And a lot of those reasons are because of the technology that they put behind it that they couldn't do yesterday. You know, so all those things are hard, very hard selling points. And you know, in that case, we were able for the last 3 years to negotiate free maintenance on those cameras. We don't pay maintenance on them, and they still fix them. And it's because of those reasons. We just said that, you know, for us to go and pay $100,000 a year for you to support this, and you don't really support it anymore because it's end of life, you know, what's the point? Work with us.
Right.
We'd rather pay you on a case-by-case basis. And we've been fortunate in that way, but it is difficult. It is not, that's truly what keeps me awake at night is IT cost.
Well, we're not trying to do that, Jacob. But thank you for all your hard work. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Jaco, did you say that the 134,000 is to have the vendor develop a module?
Yeah, develop a module. Today, that app is called MJRS, and it's a reimbursement app. And we at IT wrote that probably 10 years ago, and we rewrote it probably 4 or 5 years ago. And it's working okay for us, but it's becoming very cumbersome at the Sheriff's Department because of the fact that they have to do dual entries and things like that.
Is the vendor putting any investment into developing this module, or are we totally funding the module?
We are funding the module. How it usually works is when you first ask for that type of thing, you're gonna pretty much pay for it. You know, what they do afterwards is probably up to them. But we've had situations where we were later in line, and then they give us price breaks because other counties, for example, has already spent money on it. So
That's sort of where I was going. If they resell this module to other people, do we get any benefit from that?
we won't get any benefit from it other than, you know, the system
Using it.
is adopted by more people.
Yeah.
And obviously better taken care of, in my view.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. Moving on to 6M and N. Amendment for Information Technology Capital Improvement Fund, Zero Trust Initiative, $299,524.44. I'd like a motion to move these two to full board.
So moved by Nard.
Support Wallace.
Thank you. Commissioner Nard and Wallace made the motion and seconded it to move items 6M and N to full board. Jaco?
Commissioners, from my side, full disclosure, we did not put this out to bid. As you can see, there's multiple vendors involved. We did not put it out to bid, and I take full responsibility for that. The reason I'm here today is the $300,000 that we have is on the 2023 budget. And if we don't secure that money, we're gonna lose it because we didn't put it in next year's budget. We thought we would have more time, and, you know, with workday and everything else that happened, we really got pushed up towards the end of the year and was not able to do it. All the ones I have to say that we have on here are being done with our current vendors. It's not like it's new vendors. and we did our due diligence to try and get the best price points. There's two items that has not been vetted in the sense that it didn't go to the board, and it's also not vendors that we've used before. And that is, the one is security scorecard, and the other one is abnormal, the RR Pro abnormal email protection. I decided that I'm going to bring it through to the board. I know the position that I'm in, but I'm, like I said, full disclosure. It is just things that's important to us that we feel that we have to do in the climate that we live in from a cybersecurity standpoint. And if I don't do it with this year's money, I will just have to do it with next year's money. But obviously then by bidding it out. So that's where we are. Regarding the different items, the first one is a pilot with a Zscaler, and that is to provide secure internet access to SaaS applications. As you know, our applications now are all, most of them has moved. We still have internal apps, but most applications move to a software as a service environment, which is all in the cloud. When we VPN into our county network and do work from there, you know, that's great. But what if you sit at home and you want to dial directly into your SaaS application? We as county IT don't have much control over that if we allow that. There are certain instances where we do allow it. For example, your email, you can go in through your email and access Google from home. You don't have to be at the county. With some others, you know, it's getting really difficult to manage that. What ZIA will do for us is to allow people to dial in from home and make sure that they are dialing in securely. In other words, if they have viruses on their computers, those things are being stopped without, you know, getting to our SaaS vendor. If for whatever reason, if they're infected, they stop from being infecting the county or our SaaS environment. That's kind of the next generation VPN. So we want to do a proof of concept first. And we're pretty sure that the technology works because it's been implemented in many institutions, but we want to make sure for us that it works the way that we want. So that's that part. The email protection or abnormal email protection, it's a strange name for a company, but it's Abnormal Security is the name of the company. It's kind of the same thing. It uses artificial intelligence to try and figure out when things come into your network or go out of your network, whether it's normal behavior. We have changed, for example, our antivirus from the old type of antivirus where you have what we call virus definitions. And the virus definitions, if you have a virus, it sees it in the list of virus definitions and then it stops the virus. Well, if it's not in the list, you still get infected. With artificial intelligence, it actually stops that behavior because the behavior is not normal. And it sees that by over time building a profile of normal behavior, of network activity. And that's the type of thing that we want to do with our email environment as well, to make sure that, as you've seen this year, we've had quite a few instances where some of our cities or so gets infected, and then they start sending us emails. And we were able to stop those pretty quickly, thankfully. But what this will do is it will actually stop it before any user internally to our network will be able to respond to that. So that's that. The other one, security scorecard, is one that we want to implement. We actually went to RFP for a new vendor to help us with our security environment. We are bringing that to you in January, in the January board meeting. We've done all our homework. We've chosen the vendor. We just need to bring it to the board to approve it. But that's one thing that we do with them, is work through a process where we score ourselves to make sure that we do a better job of protecting our environment. In other words, check all the boxes to make sure that we do everything we can, to do that. There's also one Gemtech Intune deployment, which is Intune is a product that we own from Microsoft. We've never implemented it, but we want to implement that for all our mobile devices so that we have complete control over mobile devices that use county data. So if your county-owned device dials in and we find that the operating system on the county-owned device is not correct, we can then go in and update that version on the county-owned device. In other words, not leave it to user when they want to do it. It's important to us that those things take place, and that it take place in a timely fashion. And it's also required of us to do that from a CJIS perspective. We also want to do penetration testing. We got a quote to do penetration testing for New World, for OnBase, as well as our Macomb County website. And that is to see what vulnerabilities exist on those three systems, just so we can see, if there's anything that we need to pay attention to. And then obviously over time, we want to expand that to our other systems. And then the last thing is to upgrade our call manager, the Cisco Unified Communications, from version 11 to 14. It allows for OAuth, meaning authentication with any type of email outside of county email, because there's a need for that. It also do encryption, which is a high-end security need for us, and then third-party certificate management and communication protocols. So those are the different items that is part of this Zero Trust initiative. And we have money in this coming year's budget as well, 24, to continue that those efforts. But we are truly, from an IT standpoint, revamping the way that we think about security. We are, it's easy to say zero trust, but it means zero trust. And that starts in my department. And we've already started that without having the right software to do that. We've started putting in policies in place and have specific ways that people need to do updates on systems with privileged accounts and things like that to make sure that we don't get compromised internally.
Thank you. Commissioner Sabatini.
Chair. Jaco, obviously, the Zero Trust Initiative is extremely important. I know everything you have here seems like a necessity. I know during the budget process, we discussed a cybersecurity audit or review. Yep. In regards to all of this stuff that you're looking to accomplish, what's the timeline to get this done? And then when is your timeline to get the actual audit done?
The vendor that I'm bringing to you in January of next year, they have two security assessments, one in 2024. That's something we're going to start right away as soon as we get approval for that. And then the next one is in 2027. So we want to do them consistently every 3 years.
Okay.
And then obviously what that does, it gives you the holes in your security.
Right.
And it tells you the low-hanging fruits, things that you can improve without really throwing money at it, getting those things done. And then over time, obviously, getting other things done. I just have to say too, to your cost point as well, you can throw whatever money you want at cybersecurity. You are still vulnerable. It doesn't mean that somehow you now secure, because you bought a Mercedes. You know, it's just not like that. There's always risk. And it's because the dark web and the people in that environment move so fast. There's very bright people there, obviously, but with malicious minds. And their goal is to, you know, get into companies and do harm and make money off of it. And we just have to do the best we can. And that's what we're trying to do with our security program. As you have seen, I've not come to the board for a CISO or a certified security person that will cost us $200,000 a year. Oakland County has one. We decided to take the route of a security administrator and then augment those services with a vendor that can assist with the higher end services. And it works well for us, but you know, it is, you know, it's going to take us time to get there.
Right.
But we want to be very deliberate about how we do it.
So, and I know we're trying to find that specific employee. We were having challenges finding someone to fill that spot. So you went to Plan B, which I think is working out very well. So timeline for, you know, the cyber, and obviously I know nothing is foolproof. We could have 100 things and still something could occur. I think what all of our intention is to limit that risk as much as we possibly can and stay ahead of it. So in regards to that review then, when are you thinking of having that started or that third party come in January, start that, and then 3 years
I
again?
would say realistically February, because I think the board date is the 24th.
Okay.
I think full board is 26, maybe.
So
7.
the answer to the question, you're not wasting any time.
I'm gonna-
January, you're coming to us.
Yes, I'm gonna start as soon as
Great
I
answer.
get approval, we are gonna start our process.
Wonderful. Thank you,
Because that
Jacob.
is data that I'm very anxious to see.
Great. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano?
Thank you, Chair. Jacob, could you repeat some of that stuff again? Because I was no, I'm just kidding. You know, Jacob, if you said that in Italian, I might be understand some of the stuff you said, but I don't, and I'm going to go to
And I
Mr.
can't
Haas.
speak Italian.
No, I'm going to go to Mr. Haas' statement. We put considerable trust in judgment of what you're doing, and I'm satisfied with that. That's the only thing I can add to that. So as I said, I don't understand a lot of this stuff. You do. This is your bailiwick, and that's great. And we depend on you to do it the right way. We haven't caught you doing it the wrong way yet, so I'll continue to keep approving these. That's all I have, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hall?
Thank you, Chair. I don't know how to follow Commissioner Romano with that statement, in all honesty. So I'm going to try to ask 3 different questions, Jacob. This past week, it was announced that a complete healthcare system was attacked. Hackers got into it. Everybody in the system's personal information was
Compromised, yep.
compromised, correct. We currently have, if I remember the number correctly, 80% of the friend of the court working at home. What do we have in place today that prevents not only an individual from getting hacked, but the entire system, because that is all confidential, discrete information?
Well, I can explain to you a few of the things, you know, and there's quite a bit of things in place for FOC. We have systems like MICES and so on, which is state systems. And there's very strict regulations about how you communicate with those systems. When I referred earlier to going from your house to a system, you can only go to that system through the county network. So although you work at home, you have to VPN into the county network, and then from there you can get to those systems. So that's a very good layer of security. Eventually you can make that so that you don't have to do that. But that's why, like I said, there's newer technology in place that will allow you to do that and put less of a strain. But at this point in time, it's a requirement of the state of Michigan, so we have that in place. We also do, I think every 2 years, we do an audit, a security audit at FOC. And a company come in, state of Michigan usually give you 2 or 3 options. You can contract with those companies, and then they come in and do a full audit of your security. We've done very well over the past 2 audits, the ones that have been done since this process started. We've done very well in those audits and, pretty happy. There are, here and there, we have issues and we correct them as soon as we hear or know about them. But there's definitely quite a few things in place, starting with VPNing into the county network, and then from there you can do your work as if you sit at the county. They dial into their county devices and from there access secure stuff.
Second question, on the people-driven technology, it's on there for, did I see that? 111,000, but there's also a pilot for 18,000. So you're doing the pilot to assume prior to purchasing the technology?
No, the pilot is for a different, that is really to replace what we call today VPN. That is to replace that virtual access through a secure connection, but that will allow us to dial in from anywhere, whether you sit in a coffee shop or anywhere, and you will be protected rather than, if you sit today in a coffee shop and you dial into any network, the traffic, that initial traffic is usually exposed because you sit in a public place over a public network.
So the pilot is for something different than?
The pilot is for something different.
Okay, thank you. Lastly, I just want to read, I'm assuming this covered your opening statement. Motion to approve fiscal year 2023 budget amendment for information technology in amount of $299,500, whatever, by decreasing general fund balance with a corresponding increase to non-departmental capital outlay. The motion will also decrease non-departmental capital outlay with a corresponding increase to operating transfers out in order to transfer funds into the capital improvement plan to provide funding for the Zero Trust Initiative. I just want to know what attorney wrote that.
Well, I can tell you the attorney that wrote that is Steve Schmiegel. We get that information, and we always ask Steve's office to provide that wording for us, because I'm going to make a mistake if I provide that. So when we send it in, they usually alter that information to how they like it. So if you want me to get anything further, I can ask Steve.
I think you best discovered it in your opening statement that we need to get this, because the funds are available and we have an opportunity to use them. Thank you. That's all I have, Chair. I was going to ask our Chairman of Finance to explain all that, but I didn't want to. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Not that I don't think you could do it, Joe.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. On to 6O. Information Technology Maintenance Agreement for first quarter 2024. Total cost of $958,694.70. A variety of companies: AT&T, Central Square, DocuSign, Highland, IBM, Guidehouse. Need a motion to move to full board?
So moved.
Support Nard.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano and Nard made the motion and supported it to move 6-0 to full board. Jaco?
Commissioners, these are the maintenance items that I bring to you regularly. So as you can see, there's AT&T maintenance. I think about 50,000 of that is, comes back to us, from Warren. There's a Central Square for 185,000. That is for, from October 1st, I think, 6 months of Central Square, then we'll be done with them. And then DocuSign is one of the systems we use for, or the system that we use for electronic signature. Highland is our on-base system, the software for that. QRadar is audit software that we use for sieges. And then Guidehouse is the company that's helping us with the support that we brought to you earlier this year, the support for Workday.
Thank you. Commissioner Kraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, Jaco.
Commissioner.
Are these contracts ones that we already had in place and we're renewing them? Are they all annual? Are they, 2-year contract? I'm wondering if the price has gone up from 2023 going into 2024 for any of these, I guess.
Yeah, we can provide you that. I'm not sure if Shannon, my assistant, did provide that. I think she usually provide a spreadsheet in the, I don't have that with me, but in there it tells you what we paid last year and what we're paying this year. The ones that are new is obviously new, but the ones that have been in existence, as soon as that costs go over 3%, I question that. So our department then look at why cost increase. Sometimes it's licensing costs because there's additional users, but many times company just put the price up. And then the contracts are usually 3, maybe 5-year contracts because we get a price break. And then we just go by contract until it runs out.
Okay. Thank you, Jaco. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Sabatini?
Thank you, Chair. Jaco, can you talk about the Workday contract here relative to Guidehouse? Is this just ongoing support with them, or?
Yeah, this is Alight, the integrator, the company that implemented this for us and helped us and assisted us. They are now stepping out, end of this year, they're gonna be done.
Okay.
And then Guidehouse is, I think we came to the board around about July and asked for an additional year of maintenance with a company that's not necessarily integrator, but a company that can support the environment. And this is the same company that Oakland County uses today in their environment. So we've used them, are very happy with them. And, hopefully after this year, we'll be in a much better position, so.
Okay, so this is part of the transition in.
It's part of the transition, that's
As a
correct.
consultant to help us get the product.
That's correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Jacob, what departments use DocuSign?
We in IT uses it. We, obviously because we use it, departments like finance, executive office, and so forth use it. We use it, I think, at seniors, at MSU. I can get you a list. There's quite a few departments that's using it, and we want to, quite honestly, make that our preferred electronic signature software because it is also integrated with Workday. So in Workday, you're going to use it, which means that everybody's at the end of the day is going to use it.
So when you say your department uses it, do you mean internally if you have to sign something, or is that, generally DocuSign, the way I've seen it used in the past is when a company reaches out to a client or somebody they have to get a signature from.
Yeah, so we use that internally. We use that with our vendors. So once you approve something here in the board, you know, then Mark Delden has to sign off once the approval has taken place in the Board of Commissioners. We do that electronically, and then once Mark has signed, it's sent out to the companies, the actual vendors. Same thing with them, you know, they usually sign, or many times they will sign before us, and we get those documents automatically. The nice thing about it is there's an audit trail of everything that was done and when it was done, and by whom. And
Okay, when you say this is integrated with Workday and in the future more people will be able to use it, is that going to drive the $40,000 DocuSign expense up? Or is this like a flat fee and we get to use it as much as we want?
it's not a flat fee, it's per license cost. I think licenses are round about, don't quote me, but I think it's 1,200 or something like that. But the license, you only need it for people that are creating envelopes. And what that means is the person, like an assistant who's gonna create it, to have the signatures routed through a process, only that person needs the license. People that sign off and do all of that, they don't need a license.
Okay, so how many licenses do we have now?
I think we have, if I'm not mistaken, 25. And it was purchased during COVID.
Okay. And I'd be interested in how many signatures they collect through DocuSign.
Okay.
Because 25 seems like a lot for the county, because you don't need everybody doesn't need to do that. I mean, I assume they funnel requests outside for signatures through 2 or 3 or 4 people in the department who have this software. Because if we're going to have this more widely used, I don't want to see it go to like where we need 300 licenses or something.
Yeah, I don't foresee that happening. But I can look into that for you.
Yeah, I'd be interested in how much it's actually used. Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. On to 6P, Budget Amendment for Information Technology Capital Improvement Plan, Software Defined Network Environment. Finance payment, the fourth of 5 for $1,126,696.49. I need a motion to move 6P to full board. Thank you. Commissioner Wallace and Kraft made the motion and supported it to move item 6P to full board. Jaco?
Commissioners, this is the fourth of 5 payments for our software-defined network environment. That is really our Cisco, our infrastructure of the county. So all our switches, routers, everything that runs our network is part of that. And during COVID, we implemented this project. It was quite an expensive project at that point in time. And like I said, we have 2 payments left. This one and next year of 1.126 million. And then this has been completed. And that was also at 0% interest.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown?
This is a budget amendment.
That's
Shouldn't this been in your budget already from last
It
year?
is in my budget, in my capital budget.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
You're moving the money over, okay. Thank you, never mind. Too many numbers going through my head, I keep trying to think about, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, I'm done.
Thank you. Jaco, after we make this payment next year, which is that going to be in December again?
Yeah, it's gonna be, actually, 1st of January 25.
Okay,
So end of next year.
about
beginning
a
of
year
next
out.
yeah.
What's next after that? Is this for purchasing equipment or purchasing service?
It's service as well, but it was really for purchasing equipment and changing our network from a old type, Cisco router environment to software-defined networking, which is some of the things you talked about with FOC that made it easier for us to configure so that we can sit at home and be able to provide somebody secure access through our network and VPN. But that is the new, it pretty much did for infrastructure what server virtualization did for servers.
So what's the next step after this, after January of 2025?
We own the equipment, so, I think I put in my budget probably 2-3 years out from that, I put in money so that we need to start looking at, replacing that environment. Because I think at that time, the equipment's gonna be about 8 years old.
That would, in your long-term projection, would that be upgrading it to newer versions of the same equipment to do the same function, software?
Most likely, but,
Software-defined
yeah,
networking?
most likely, but, what's happening with equipment too is equipment's becoming more software-based. It's not, these big devices we used to have, they're getting smaller and smaller, and everything is now software. So what it's gonna look like at that time will probably not be the same as today.
Yeah, understood. I don't have a crystal ball, but that's sort of where you you anticipate that it would be going
Exactly.
to. Okay, good.
But I think the underlying infrastructure will stay the same. That's, the SDN infrastructure will stay the same.
Good. Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chair. With approval, I'd like to ask Jaco a question that's unrelated to that budget item, but it's related to integration in systems. We had talked to various department heads, I believe Commissioner Sabatini or Perna brought it up, that are collecting monies in different processes, different amounts, different systems, and we asked that somebody coordinate how the county does this as a whole, so at least we're all doing it the same way, which is not taking place today. I don't want to add anything more to your plate or spend any more money than what we just did, but are you doing that, or is somebody else doing that?
Well, there's an ordinance, and I cannot tell you when it came out, but there was an ordinance that came out, I think, for the treasurer to do that. If you're talking about payment systems and how we take money in and all of that,
Right.
to standardize it for the county. And we've had multiple conversations around that. And the idea is that we will start going out to RFP in the next year to find a system that works for everybody. At some point in time, the treasurer went out and did something like that. The system ended up being Chase, and it just didn't work for us. It just didn't take all the requirements in that was needed. And so we have to do that, and we've had conversations, like I said, and at that time, we'll move that forward and start doing that. But all these systems that we talk about, like Workday, the sheriff system, everything in the county eventually will integrate with that payment system if it's a countywide payment
So
system.
right now, the treasurer owns the process?
That's what I understand. yeah.
Okay,
They
thank you.
are, the
We'll
accountability
We'll
is with
save the
them.
next question for him then.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, on topic or off, please vote.
That's funny.
I think there was a little jab there.
Jaco, you spent a lot of money today,
Chairman's
Jaco.
prerogative.
Motion
Now-
passes 11-0.
Thank you. Now I'd like to invite any of the many public participants out there to come to the mic and
Public's leaving.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jacob.
Good night, Jaco.
come to the mic and have up to 3 minutes for any issue they want to talk about.
Somebody sleeping back there? Where's he going?
I think so. Anyone for public participation? Hearing none, we will move on to comments as soon as I get the electronics to update here. Commissioner Wallace, you're on.
Thank you. Oh, wow, sorry. Habitat for Humanity is doing gift wrapping on Saturday at their Shelby Township store, and they are still looking for volunteers that would like to wrap gifts. So if any of you lovely people would like to join me in wrapping gifts on Saturday, I just wanted to extend the invitation because they are looking to expand and do more things for Habitat in the community, and why not a county commissioner participate? So if you're interested, let me know. I'll be happy to connect you with who you need to connect with.
Is it inside or outside?
Definitely inside.
Those paper bags you can staple on, put an envelope on. I'm good at that.
Thank you. Commissioner Nard?
A resident asked me about being able to participate in these meetings without coming. I know we had talked about some type of hybrid system. Do we know where we are with that, or has any more thought been given to that system? I mean, they asked me, so I got to say it.
Ask about.
They wanted to know about, remember Matuzik was talking about the hybrid system where people can call in like they did when
Who
we
was?
Commissioner Matuzik.
Oh, is she here?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I just brought it back up because a resident asked me about it,
Yeah.
so.
So I'll take a look at that. I think that
Okay.
we got new technology and it's possible if the board wants to do that.
Okay, cool.
But
Thank you, Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Van Sickle and I had the pleasure of attending the Sterling Christmas and singing Jingle Bell songs, and he was in tune, and everybody appreciated it. We had a great time. That's all. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, and actually, Executive Hackle showed up, which I was surprised about.
he didn't take off his shirt, did he?
No, he didn't. You didn't see the video.
Yes, I did.
Oh, did you?
Come on, I want to go home.
Commissioner Hall.
Since he mentioned Christmas, then the tree lighting, I attended the Macomb Township tree lighting. And if you go on the social media, Elsa from Frozen that sang was my granddaughter.
Oh,
Good for you.
Yep.
Hope
Thank
she
you.
got her thing, looks from her mother.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown?
There's some good news for Macomb County residents. The Metro Parks received $500,000 from the state to enhance a trail at the Metro Park. Not enhance, maybe make a brand new one. And it's $500,000 coming to Macomb County, which is good to come into our parks because we haven't had a lot of money come to for that. So that's a good thing. So wanted to pass that bit of news along for those of you who didn't see it. Thank you.
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas from somebody.
Commissioner Grove?
right.
Want to mention it, send me some information on a Shelby Township event. Another thing is that we approve a lot of those contracts. Some of the vendors' disclosures form are 2018. So, just mentioning. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Zinner?
Thank you, Chair. I attended the Harrison Township tree lighting. Santa was there, and we had a lot of fun. A lot of kids had a lot of fun and saw Santa and did projects, cookies. Santa's a lot like this one here.
Never did anything for Santa.
I don't know why. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no other commissioner comments?
Motion
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioner Haw or Commissioner Romano, supported by Commissioner Haw.
Yeah.
Made the motion and supported it to adjourn. Please vote.
Would hate to break Joe's record.